The leader of the fact-finding team that came from United States to investigate the allegation of Christian genocide has dropped part two of his report. I'm talking about Mike Arnold, a former mayor in the United States who was invited by the Tinubu administration to dispel the allegation of Christian genocide in Nigeria. Remember that the issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria gained currency when Bill Maher, an American actor and comedian, in one of his shows drew the international attention to alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria, saying that since 2009, over 100,000 Christians have been killed and 18,000 churches burnt. That drew a lot of attention to issue of Christian genocide debate in Nigeria. Shortly after that, Senator Ted Cruz, a senator from Texas in the United States, presented a bill to reclassify Nigeria or redesignate Nigeria, sorry, as a country of particular concern, and also to impose series of sanctions on Nigerian officials alleged to be enabling it. So it was under this climate that the presidency, through Reno Omokri, invited the Americans, led by Mayor Mike Arnold, to come and investigate. In other words, to investigate and to expose to the world that what is being said by people like Senator Ted Cruz and others, that it's not true, and that there is no Christian genocide in Nigeria. Unfortunately for them, the the first report they presented in October, backfired. Yesterday, Mark Arnold presented the part two of that report, because in the first report he confirmed that there is ongoing genocide in Nigeria, contrary to the expectation of those who invited him. So in this video, you are going to see Mark Arnold present part two of his report, so that his part two is with a lot of recommendations. In the first part of this report, he concentrated basically on whether what was happening in Nigeria is constituted a genocide. And if you follow his first report, his conclusion was that there is ongoing Christian genocide in Nigeria. Okay, so you are going to see the part two, then you come back, we discuss. Watch.
Hi, my name is Mike Arnold. At the personal request of Nigerian Presidential Advisor Reno Omokri and National Security Advisor Nuhu Rabadu, I recently traveled to Nigeria as part of a much publicized fact finding mission to report the truth on the Nigerian genocide. This was just one additional step in my 6 year mission to investigate and document this tragedy. During this time, I've traveled across Nigeria, often at great personal risk and sacrifice, visiting communities struck by genocide, concentration camps of the displaced generation of Nigerians, schools and orphanages filled with children who saw their families slaughtered, and much, much more, including some of the highest offices in the land. The reality of my recent trip was that I was invited to be a stooge for their international PR stunt. They somehow thought that after 6 years of investigating this genocide firsthand across many dark corners of Nigeria and working to raise awareness of this back home, that I would somehow get up front of the media and lie about it. Of course, I refused, and instead, God used me to flip the script, and I told the truth that they are so desperately trying to hide. I did what I was asked. I spoke the truth, and by God's mighty power, it had great impact. A long suppressed truth is always explosive. The data shows that just a few days after the press conference, total impressions across all media were more than 3 billion. And the narrative worldwide flipped from 80% denying genocide to 70% affirming. Observers on both sides of the Atlantic say this had an obvious impact on President Trump's recent statements and actions in this matter. I think that's pretty explosive. This is part two of that report. It is the official continuation of the important work I was formally invited to do by top representatives of the Nigerian government, and it exposes an even darker, deeper, and more suppressed truth. When you understand what's happening in Nigeria, the pattern is undeniable. The cost of inaction will be catastrophic. So now we ask, what must be done? These are my recommendations. Number one, immediate U.S. congressional delegation to Nigerian IDP camps and mass graves. Just like in Bosnia in 1995, when congressional delegates visited Srebrenica mass graves and forced the world to confront genocide, so too must U.S. lawmakers walk through the camps in Abuja, Jos, and Benue. Let them hear from widows who lost everything. Let them hear from orphans who saw their parents slaughtered. They are living eyewitnesses to genocide, and their voices must be heard. Let them see the mountains of dirt left over from illegal strip mining of blood-soaked ground. Let them see the mass graves in Yalatwa, where 200 to 280 bodies were bulldozed into the dirt after an attack that left no survivors. Let cameras roll. Let witness testimonies be recorded. Let the world see what the Nigerian government is hiding and denying. This one action can force global recognition, unlock humanitarian aid, and open the floodgates of accountability. Number two, focus on the displaced generation. Emergency humanitarian relief is needed today. Every congressional hearing should feature testimonies from internally displaced Nigerians. Every media story should center displaced voices. Every humanitarian dollar should prioritize the camps and getting people out of the camps back home, restored safely. Every diplomatic pressure point should reference specific displaced persons. Every ICC filing should be built on IDP evidence. Make the displaced generation impossible to ignore. This is how the genocide will be stopped. Immediate actions must include emergency witness documentation teams to major IDP camps, trauma counseling and medical care for widows and orphans, educational programs preventing radicalization, international adopt-a-camp programs, and fast-track resettlement for most
That
vulnerable.
was Mark Arnold, the leader of the fact finding team from the United States that conducted investigation and research in Nigeria on the issue of genocide in Nigeria. And you heard him very clearly there saying that he was invited to write this report by this presidential advisor, Reno Mokri, and national security advisor. Of course, many of us know that officially Reno Mokri has not been announced, but as a presidential advisor. But what he does on social media and how the Aso Rock is always open to him to see the president and whoever he want to see, including national security advisor, was an indication that he is one of those working for the government. And in this report, he confirmed, uh, McConnell confirmed that the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu was aware of his coming, that he was invited, by the government. But the report he gave was contrary to what they expected. But the most important thing we're going to look at here now is the recommendations he has made from the report. So one of the key recommendations he made from that is that the American congressmen should send a team. The Congress in the United States should send a team to visit Benue, to visit Plateau States, to visit mass graves, and so that the world will see. And you know, this man had been investigating this issue of killings in Nigeria for a long time, even before he was allegedly recruited by the government to come and do this image laundering, which backfired. He had been doing a lot of work, so he has a lot of information on this matter. So he was saying that the US Congress, because to him that will be the game changer. When the US Congress visits Benue, Plateau, to see the mass graves, and I can tell you for free, the way he was talking, and from his analysis of having been investigating these things for a long time, even before he was recruited to dispel the story of Christian genocide, I will not be surprised that he will know some of the mass graves, if they exist, that he can show them. And you can see here he had started mentioning names of graves where they will see things. And he was saying that when they see these things with the cameras rolling, that everybody will understand that, look, this is what is going on in Nigeria. And before he even continued to give the recommendations, one of the things he said was that his first report was also part of the game changers in this story of Christian genocide debate. He said that he got the first report he made got over 3 billion impressions worldwide. 3 billion impressions, and changed the narrative from 80% of people not believing there is anything like that to 70% of people around the world believing that it is true, and that it was the thing that influenced Donald Trump to take action on Nigeria in terms of redesignating Nigeria as a country of particular concern, and then moving ahead to even threaten military actions if Nigerian government does not move fast to remedy the situation. You know the significance, he talked about that how this was a game changer even during the issue of the Bosnia genocide. Between 1992 and 1995, following the collapse of the Soviet Union, not Yugoslavia, not Soviet Union. Following the collapse of the Yugoslavia was like Nigeria before. It was a country that was put together, different ethnicities, different religions. It used to be a good example of multi-religious and multi-ethnic society. But once their leader died, also the things that held them together fell apart, and everybody was up for himself. It was within that period that there was genocidal attacks in parts of old former Yugoslavia. And one of the most notable was the Bosnia genocide, in which You heard him talk about the Srebrenica massacre. That was the mass grave, one of the mass graves that was unveiled by Americans and the European Union leaders, parliament, when they visited, that they said they can't take it again. And that's, interestingly, it was a genocide against Muslims that happened in Bosnia when over uh, 7,000 Bosniak or Bosnian Muslims were massacred and buried in mass graves and all that. Okay, if you're a follower of international affairs, you should be able to have a bit of knowledge of this. It may seem like a long time, but this incident happened shortly after the collapse of the Yugoslavia. Okay, and he said that the U.S. Congress at that time sent a delegation to go and visit, to go and examine what was going on in Yugoslavia, and that in Bosnia, the issue of Srebrenica massacre and all that. He wanted the same thing to happen in Nigeria, in the sense that if the Congress delegation visit Nigeria and visit the mass graves. He was specific in Benue and Plateau States and go to all the places he listed, that they are going to see that indeed the world cannot afford not to do something about stopping Christian genocide in Nigeria. So that's the key point he has made, one of the key recommendations he made in this part two of the report. And he also insisted that when the congressmen come, they were not going to only see the mass graves with cameras rolling, as he's saying it. They are not only going to see the mass graves of the victims of the alleged Christian genocide, but he also said that part of their responsibility will be to speak directly. The congressmen will talk directly with widows, orphans in the IDP camps, internally displaced persons camps, so that they can be able to hear them out. So that and he was saying that these people in the IDP camps will be witnesses against government officials and those who allegedly enabled genocide against their family and all that. So that's one of the things he was reiterating there. The importance of the congressmen, when they come, they have to visit the IDPs camps. And he is somebody who knows the IDP camps, even in Abuja, in Borno, in Plateau, in Benue. He is conversant with them, and he is somebody who also has set up some schools there for IDPs. So he is very concerned about getting the evidence by the U.S. Congress. So, in other words, what he was trying to say in this part two is to provide more proof to the U.S. Congress and to the rest of the world that indeed there is ongoing Christian genocide in Nigeria. We are going to look at part of other, because the reports he came with recommendations. So these are just the one I will we are going to stop here on this particular recommendation. The following video will look at some other recommendation he made, but this is the key recommendation he made, which we have discussed in this video, that of the confirming that there is genocide and recommending that the US Congress should immediately send a delegation to Nigeria to see the mass graves of victims of Christian genocide, and then from there speak to the survivors, then visit IDPs camp, saying that they are going to hear a lot, they are going to learn a lot, they are going to see a lot of confirmation that there is genocide in Nigeria in this. I don't know what to think about what you have heard so far about the recommendation of Mayor Mike Arnold in part two of his fact-finding mission to Nigeria, a mission in which he was invited by the Nigerian government. Whatever is your position, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you for watching this video, and if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, Google will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.